All right, welcome back, Larry Kruger, Ryan Smith, back with you. And our guest today is Mike Klis from 9 News in the Denver, Colorado area. And of course, this week, national TV, Niners and Broncos go in Denver. Can the 49ers beat Russell Wilson? History says no, but the odds say yes. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go. But we welcome in our guest, Mike Klis, who's been covering the Broncos for years. Mike, thanks for a few minutes. Appreciate you joining us.
Right. This looks like a heck of a podcast based on the opening you had there.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, give me your impressions. I mean, everything is new in Bronco land, right? You got a new quarterback, new coordinators, new system, new owners. I mean, pretty much new everything. What are the early reviews?
There's some growing pains on the field anyway. We don't know what this team is yet. I've seen Russell Wilson look great with Seattle. Here, many of the intangibles he has as a quarterback are more impressive in person as far as how he presents himself, how he carries himself, his leadership, his work ethic is incredible. There's no one in the NFL that outworks that guy. He's he shows up with that big truck of his around 5:30 in the morning, and he doesn't leave, I know, till well after 7. And so that's about an hour earlier than the rest of the players in the morning, and a couple hours later in the evening. He's not running or the way he did in Seattle yet. It's a small sample size. He has 3 carries for 5 yards. Obviously, we remember him rushing for, well over 500 yards most seasons. So that part of his game has been missing, and I think that part of his game needs to return on goal to go. They're 0 for 5 in goal to go. First and goal at the 5, first and goal at the 3, first and goal at the 9. They haven't scored a touchdown yet. And that's what stopped this team from being 2-0. They're 1-1. And then the coach, because they haven't been able to convert on goal to go, the coach has been getting flogged for, all the decisions and game day operations that he struggled with through the first 2 games. So it's been interesting. Again, don't know what they've got. San Francisco is going to tell us, I think, a lot. Seattle's not supposed to have much of a team this year. Houston's not supposed to have much of a team. San Francisco is. They got Jimmy G. We'll find out Sunday night what the Broncos are made of.
Right on that point you made about Russ not running, is it your belief that is more of a function of him being a veteran and knowing, the risk reward isn't really worth it early in the year, and that, he's maybe saving that for the big time games? Or is he do you think he's just not quite as athletic as he used to be?
Well, I do think he's not as quick as he used to be. I mean, he is about to turn 34, and so he's not 24. In 2014, he'd have been about 26, and he rushed for 849 yards. I don't want people to confuse that with my belief that he's less of a quarterback because he's not as quick as he used to be. You can be better. Even if you can't move like you used to. But I do think part of it also is he really wants to be and is really concentrating on this Hackett offense, which is a get rid of the ball quick and look quick. And, and it's a timing type deal. I think he's really maybe going overboard trying to make this offense work and this system work. And, there's no play that calls for the quarterback to run. So I think it's part of it. I think he does want to be more of a pocket quarterback, although, I think he's way more dangerous on the move. I'm not sure. I think he is making adjustments, and it's a little bit of everything. I do think he'll start running a little bit more starting Sunday night. I'd be surprised if he doesn't, especially given they're 0 for 5 in the goal to goes. That's where I think Wilson needs to be more of a threat. There's so many times when a quarterback rolls right and, there's a defender caught in the middle between a receiver and a quarterback, and he's got to make a choice. Russell has to start, making that apparent to the defender that he can run the ball.
Why the knee-jerk reaction, criticism-wise, for Nathaniel Hackett? He's been there for like about 30 minutes, and everybody's already saying he's doomed for failure. I know he's made some high-profile errors as far as time management and that kind of thing, but is it as simple as that, or is there something more to that story?
Yeah, I mean, it is the Monday night thing in Seattle where he had to decide between a 64-yard field goal and 4th and 5 for Russ. That was an egregious thing where everybody piled on him. And I kind of blame – a lot of people thought it was game management because he could have called a timeout with 1:03 left and called a play. And if they make it, they still got 2 more timeouts to get closer for a field goal. He went for he took the Hail Mary field goal, if you will. And once he decided on the field goal right away, he did the right thing, letting the clock tick down. The problem was no one could believe he was going for the field goal. So the Troy Aikmans who were calling the game, Peyton Manning, who was on his Manning cast, were unaware. They were all saying timeout, timeout, timeout. But if you call for the field goal, you want that clock to bleed down to 20 seconds like it did. So I think the fact that the commentators on the game were saying timeout led everyone to believe that he had a time management problem. He did not have a time management problem. You can discuss the decision and debate the decision of field goal versus going for it at 4th and 5. And to be honest, I was in the press box saying you got to go for it here at 4th and 5. You can't have McManus kick a 64-yard field goal in Seattle. It was in Denver. It's a different thing. In Seattle, you don't attempt that kick. Plus, it's the script was Russell Wilson. He goes back to Seattle. It's 4th and 5. Hollywood was happening, and Hackett changed the script to change the ending, and he didn't make the kick. He even had a free practice kick because of the timeout. And the first one McManus missed badly. I was thinking right there, send the offense out after you saw him miss that kick so bad. He did barely miss it on the one that counted. And then against Houston, there were some what happened against Houston. I counted 6 game operational errors. And there were 2 delay of game penalties. They had to burn 3 timeouts in the second half unnecessarily. And then the most embarrassing thing happened because the play was coming in so late. The fans, being smart as they are, they reminded me of the Yankee fans with their knowledge. They started counting down the play clock as it got inside 10 on a drive in the 4th quarter. That was a mocking chant. 9, 8, 7. So they were telling the coach, look, you can't do it. We'll help you. And so that's why it got real bad. It's become a real issue. Everyone is starting to say he's over his head. I don't think that's the case. I think there are he's making rookie mistakes, but he's a smart guy, and I think he's going to correct them. It may not be just this week. The other thing, guys, watch any game, and there's 2 or 3 game management errors by every coach. I mean, Lovie Smith in that game against the Broncos, it was 3rd and 2. They had an incomplete pass, but the Broncos were called for holding. He could have backed them up and made it 3rd and 12. Instead, he took the 4th and 2. Well, this time at 4th and 2, the Broncos went for it and got the first down. He should have taken the 3rd and 12. Every coach makes errors in game management. He's just made he made it. There was a series of them. The week after, everyone saw his decision or indecision at the end of the game against Seattle, and it just kind of piled on him real quick.
It is really interesting when you look at it. There's an article out in the Ringer that the Broncos are the only team in the NFL this year who entered week one with a new QB, new head coach, new OC, new defensive coordinator. I think it's kind of interesting from the fact that Hackett, I guess is calling the plays, but he didn't call plays in Green Bay. He last called plays in Jacksonville in 2018. They fired him mid-season. His offensive coordinator has never been an offensive coordinator. His defensive coordinator has never been a defensive coordinator or called a defense. And the special team coordinator has never even been a special teams coach. I mean,
no, that's not right.
That's not accurate. He was an assistant.
The Ringer had that wrong. I read that article. Stooks was a special teams coordinator in Tampa Bay in 2011.
Gotcha.
So, if you didn't go back 11 years, you wouldn't have found that.
But also adding to that, also they didn't play in the preseason, the starters, right?
Correct. Most of them anyway. A couple did. But that was another factor. He's on that Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur. Basically, those are his mentors, and they don't play anybody in the preseason either.
They all came out flat.
And those teams look bad in the opener.
Yeah.
But they're there at the end. I think that's what Hackett is saying, is that a lot of, especially in a 17-game season, the war of attrition is bigger than ever now, where it's not the best team that wins the Super Bowl, it's the healthiest. And so that's why he's backing off on preseason. He backs off every third day in training camp. He basically has a walkthrough every third day in training camp. That was something that all the old retired football players took issue with around here. So he's got different methods. He's got a different way of looking at things. He's a neurobiologist, for crying out loud, major at UC Davis. So the guy's got like this high IQ and maybe thinks a little stronger with the left side of his brain than most people do. He's not a linear